Hello and good morning, everybody.
Hi, good morning.
How are you doing today? Is this Phillip?
Yeah, this is Phillip. I'm doing well. How are you?
Dude, I'm so used to just these producers getting on there going, okay, Earl, you've got 10 minutes. Be out at such and such time. So it's an honor to have you directly having a conversation.
Yeah, it's my pleasure.
Dude, we've got something in common. North Carolina.
Yes. Yes.
Are you still living in Carolina now?
No, I'm in Pittsburgh now.
Ooh, so you had to switch up to a Steelers fan, did you?
No, I don't follow football. Actually, the only sport I follow is college basketball, and of course that's because of UNC.
Oh, I love it. I love it. How did you come up with the idea for this? And was it inspired because of this movement that's happening right now with a little bit heavier alcohol? Because it seems like people are moving from beer and they're going into things that, like you're talking about in this book.
This was very much an unplanned project, and I'm not a beer drinker anyways, but I used to. I mean, I like cocktails before I wrote this book, but this really started as a series of tweets early in the pandemic. I was simply bored at home one afternoon, and I had bourbon, tart cranberry juice, grenadine, put it together over ice, stirred it, served it up with an orange twist, and then I thought, okay, now it needs a name. And the first thing that I could think of was the social distancer, because of course we're all doing that. And took a picture, posted it on social media. And the next day I thought, you know what, I'll do this again. I made a gin martini, added a splash of absinthe, called it the quarantini, because I was having it by myself. Everybody else was absent, right? That was sort of the joke. And my friends were like, oh, this is funny, you should keep it up. And so I did. And every weekday from between 5 and 6 in the afternoon, I would come up with a new cocktail recipe. Always, the theme was always, how does the pandemic affect our life teaching at the university? And so in the course of the next couple of weeks, there was the remote instructor, the canceled conference, the inaccessible archive, the Cogito Ergo Zoom. And by the end of the semester, I had about 30 drinks. And then I kind of forgot about it. And it was not until later that year, in I think late August of 2020, that I posted a thread on Twitter, and I said, hey, another pandemic semester is coming. We could all use a drink or 25. Here are my suggestions. And then this thread blew up. And 2 weeks later, somebody from Indiana University Press emails me and says, hey, I've seen this. I think it's really funny. Would you like to do a book with us?
Oh.
So this is how it happened.
Well, I could also see this being turned into a podcast because, I mean, the way that you put passion into the stories is something that someone would love to listen to while in their car or at work.
Oh, interesting. I hadn't thought about that, but I'm as you can imagine, I usually write about post-war Germany. I write for a rather small audience, and so this is a new experience. But I'll definitely think about it.
That's interesting that you write about the post-war Germany, because I've talked with a lot of artists, musicians especially, about post-war Germany, and they paint the picture of the marks, the scars are still there, but the world doesn't see them. And we need people like yourself to showcase what's really going on inside these chapters, because even though they've been written, they're still there.
What do you mean by chapters?
In other words, the way they make, because we may be 40, 50 years outside that war, but everybody thinks, oh, they rebuilt it, because they do it in movies, Godzilla movies and things like that. Everything is back to being perfect. But these bands will tell me that they go into these buildings that still are war torn, and they find inspiration in those buildings.
That's very interesting. Yeah.
And it's a part of history that time can't forget. And I'm such a freak on history, because I don't want history to repeat itself. And we need people like yourself to share that journey.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I think you're absolutely correct. I mean, I could not agree more. My personal sort of the topics that I'm interested in is also dealing with the legacy of the war, but it's sort of more is, what do people do with that? And so, my first book was about how German and American historians wrote German history after World War II, and how the two countries went from wartime enemies to Cold War allies, West Germany and the United States, and how that created an opportunity for intellectual exchange. So, also a way of dealing with the legacy, obviously, but sort of more forward-looking, I guess.
Wow. See, and even that, sir, could turn into a podcast, because it's the things that, we're so addicted to the front page of a newspaper that we need these stories so that we can listen, because we're so fascinated by it, because we all jump on the History Channel, we watch the documentaries, but then it ends on the documentary, and we need stories like what you've got.
Yeah, I mean, this is, this comes back to the topic of difficulties that historians like myself, historians who are trained historians, we often don't do the best job communicating with a broader audience. I mean, there are some exceptions, obviously, but there's a lot left to be done for us.
Yeah, yeah. Wow. And for you to explore then the art of sipping, I mean, this had to have been, I don't want to say career changing, but it's still connecting with people, and it still talks about a time in history that you're documenting.
You mean the cocktail book now?
Yeah, yeah. Because, yeah. I mean, it's really inside of you very deeply.
Yeah, I mean, it also helped me personally because I live by myself, and I like to entertain people. I like to cook for my friends. Pittsburgh has a fantastic jazz scene, so that all that ended, and I was pretty miserable, and so having a creative outlet, working on a project that was fun and where I was able to reach out to people and say, hey, look at this chapter, look at these drinks. Do you think those jokes work? Do you have suggestions? That really helped me get through those 2.5 years.
Was it kind of scary at first? Because so many times, even with podcasts, you sit there and you talk to yourself about going, don't do it, man. Someone's going to make fun of you. Don't do it. And then you take that leap of faith.
In what respect?
Because I mean, hey, everybody knows you for your history, and all of a sudden you're posting pictures and recipes for mixed drinks, cocktails, and things. And so I mean, to go out there on social media and take that leap, and all of a sudden it's like, oh my God, there's a different side.
Yeah, I mean, it's I think what helps is, at least I've tried. I want to say to not take myself too seriously and be a little silly, and I think sometimes my students, as a result, have to listen to jokes that they not always appreciate. But I think I'm sure there might be a colleague or two out there who say, "Oh, this is not serious. Why is he not being a scholar?" But that doesn't concern me. You can make everybody happy, and actually, what was really gratifying is that back then. And now that the book is out, complete strangers send me messages and say, hey, I love this. I just got the book, or as I was working on it, I look forward to it. And obviously that means a lot. And so I think, whatever, I wasn't really thinking, I think also what helped was that when I started making these cocktails, I didn't think that they would become a book. I mean, that came much later.
You spent some time here in North Carolina. You know that we have the ABC stores and how well controlled it is. Do you walk into a local place right there and start saying, okay, what can I mix together? What have you heard from people? Or is this something where you sit down, you do your homework alone, and then you explore it, and then you release it for us to sample, basically?
Pennsylvania, and this is something that really surprised me when I moved here, the liquor laws are even stricter here.
Are you kidding? Wow.
Yeah, than there in North Carolina. So only recently were select stores allowed to sell wine. That was not an issue. That was not possible before. And but my approach really was to keep it simple. There's a cocktail book that I personally just admire because it's so witty. It's called Tequila Mockingbird by Tim Federle, and it uses literary works and then makes cocktails that correspond to works of fiction. And a friend of mine gave me this book a couple of years ago, and I went home and I was excited to try one of these recipes, and I realized that there was not one cocktail where I had all the ingredients at home. And so I didn't want to write a book like that. I wanted to write a book where you need a liquor store and you need a grocery store, and there you can find everything that you need. My approach was also to work a lot with fruit juices because academic life can be tart sometimes.
Yep.
And bitters were an important part for also obvious reasons. But I really was more thinking at home, okay, what could I combine now? Last time I did this. Well, let's modify something. It wasn't so much that I went to the liquor store and looked for inspiration there.
Yeah, yeah. You know, the way that you share the story, it really brings up the memories that I had during the lockdown. I stepped into the kitchen and I started making soups. And you being a foodie, I mean, do you find that when you create these cocktails, do you find that maybe this could be, like a cold soup and it's got some kick to it?
Some cold soup?
In other words, the cocktails, because I mean, all I think about anymore is making soup. So when going through the book, I mean, it's like I'm sitting there thinking, oh my God, he's got ideas here. Oh my, I'm going to incorporate this somehow, some way. All of these chefs are going to go, I need to have this book because it's going to enhance what it is that I'm creating.
Yeah, I mean, this is something I'm interested in figuring out what professional bartenders have to say about this. I recently learned that apparently, according to Orthodox mixology, you're supposed to shake cocktails that have fruit juices, and I have to admit I did not know that. So I stirred them. But as I write in my introduction, this is a cocktail book for academics, so the recipes are open to interpretation and reconsideration. So obviously, every person who gets that book, of course, can modify the recipes as they see fit and serve them on the rocks as opposed to up if they want.
I could totally see this book at Regal movie theaters because they come with bars now, and they're always looking for new ideas for cocktails for the movies as they come out because they like to do a theme. I would love for you to team up with Regal because, I mean, this is so brilliantly creative.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with them, but I'll look them up for sure.
Absolutely. Where can people go to find out more about you? Because there's so much depth in you, and people need to see the real you and then grow outward with you.
I mean, I'm still on that thing that used to be Twitter, even though it's going downhill. PJ Steizel is my handle there. There's an Instagram page that corresponds to the book, Phillip, Steizel, the Faculty Lounge. And I guess my university website at Duquesne University is probably not as exciting for people who are interested in cocktails.
You got to come back to this show anytime in the future, man. I love your humor. I do. I really love your humor.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Well, you be brilliant today, okay, sir?
Thank you.